rest and take care of a lot of business this morning. But I would like to make a couple of statements here and make a couple of points and make some things clear. Um, the Joe Rogan situation, where everyone's freaking out about Joe Rogan and what happened with Spotify. Well, a lot of people are angry and upset that Joe Rogan, how dare Joe Rogan, allow misinformation to be said continuously on his platform without even understanding what actually transpired in the first place. That is what's really happening in America today. We have no idea what's going on, but yet and still, we automatically want to cancel, shut down, and get involved without even learning what you're canceling or shutting down or the reason why. You let someone else tell you what the narrative is rather than finding out for yourself, and everybody just pile on. And that's what's happening in this situation because I wanted to go and find out what was happening. I don't listen to the Joe Rogan podcast show. So I'm not someone that's one of his followers or fans. So I have no dog in the fight. I have no bias. I have no connection whatsoever to Joe Rogan. But looking at this situation, it is clear that this is someone making a political jab and trying to control narratives. Here's what Joe Rogan actually did. Joe Rogan went out and interviewed two doctors that was on his show. People with medical credentials, well known in the medical profession, but they don't agree with the mainstream solutions that everyone else seems to have with dealing with the pandemic. And because these two interviews that he did were different from popular opinion, they basically said Joe Rogan, well, he's spreading misinformation. That was the determination, that he was using misinformation and spreading it. So popular artists on Spotify decided they were going to pull their music off of Spotify, which would make Spotify lose a lot of money because Spotify sponsors the Joe Rogan podcast show. Now, it is one of the number one podcast shows in the country. If I'm wrong, then somebody can correct me, but it is. So, this is what's the surprise to me. With all of this going on, they want to try to change the narrative to shut down the Joe Rogan podcast show. Get Spotify to drop its number one show. Right? So, with everybody else, some other artists saying that they're going to do the same thing. Right? They were going to follow suit and do the same thing. Why? What did Joe Rogan do that was wrong? He interviewed two people, and what they said didn't. And Spotify said, what happened with Joe Rogan? He didn't do anything upon the guidelines that would cause them to say we need to pull the Joe Rogan podcast. He did not spread any misinformation. He interviewed some guys and they had a different medical opinion. It does not mean that is the opinion of the Joe Rogan podcast. And you want Spotify to drop its #1 show. I don't know in what country, in what world does that happen. But my thing is this. Why is it such a concern that someone else has a difference of opinion and they are in the medical profession? My thing is, if you have a problem with them, address them. Address those two doctors in their medical profession. It's okay for the CDC and everyone else to have their opinion, but no one else can have an opinion. Sounds like a dictatorship to me. Because you're clarifying what is misinformation and what isn't. No, Spotify isn't stupid. They're not going to let a bunch of artists determine what they're going to do and where they're making their money. Okay? So if that old country singer want to get up and leave and get some other people to join him, then cool. You know, hey, you did get a lot of views here, but hey, you feel like this is affecting you because you don't agree with it? Fine. But my thing is this. All of this controversy is done because people don't like Joe Rogan and his stance, because it doesn't fit their agenda. Whether you agree or disagree with Joe Rogan, why are you saying that he shouldn't be heard or anybody on his show shouldn't be heard? They already have a preconceived notion of Joe Rogan because some of the things he's actually said on his show and some of the things that he's actually proclaimed on his show that led to the Aaron Rodgers situation and everything else. So my thing is, why are you trying to punish people for what they actually believe in? Why can't someone else's belief be respected as you want yours to be? Is that... I'm not standing with anybody. I'm saying, like, look, I have no problem with Joe Rogan. I don't really like the guy, if you want to be honest, but I have no bias against him and his stance. But personally, if you ask me, hey, did you think of Joe Rogan? I don't think he's a prick. But other than that, I think our constitutional rights are being violated. We're slipping more into a dictatorship than ever any time before. Anytime you speak out or say something that's supposed to be your choice or this is how I feel, you're ostracized. It could be something as innocuous as a Twitter post and you need to be fired from your job. You don't agree with the masses. Hit the like button. That's why they won't push this video. This video ain't gonna take off. This video ain't gonna get the normal views it normally get because I'm not saying something that's convenient. They gonna tell me to shut up and dribble. Shut up and talk about basketball. You see? That's how it works. Let's listen to what Joe said.
I wanted to make a video to address some of the controversy that's been going on over the past few days. And first of all, to say thank you to everyone that sent love and support. I truly, truly appreciate it. And it's been very nice to hear from you. I wanted to make this video, first of all, because I think there's a lot of people that have a distorted perception of what I do, maybe based on sound bites or based on headlines of articles that are disparaging. The podcast has been accused of spreading dangerous misinformation, specifically about 2 episodes, a little bit about some other ones, but specifically about 2. One with Dr. Peter McCullough and one with Dr. Robert Malone. Dr. Peter McCullough is a cardiologist, and he is the most published physician in his field in history. Dr. Robert Malone owns 9 patents on the creation of mRNA vaccine technology and is at least partially responsible for the creation of the technology that led to mRNA vaccines. Both these people are very highly credentialed, very intelligent, very accomplished people, and they have an opinion that's different from the mainstream narrative. I wanted to hear what their opinion is. I had them on, and because of that, those episodes in particular, those episodes were labeled as being dangerous. They had dangerous misinformation in them. The problem I have with the term misinformation, especially today,
hit the like button,
people. Things that we thought of as misinformation just a short while ago are now accepted as fact. Like, for instance, 8 months ago, if you said, if you get vaccinated, you can still catch COVID and you can still spread COVID, you would be removed from social media. They would ban you from certain platforms. Now, that's accepted as fact. If you said, I don't think cloth masks work, you would be banned from social media. Now, that's openly and repeatedly stated on CNN. If you said, I think it's possible that COVID-19 came from a lab, you'd be banned from many social media platforms. Now, that's on the cover of Newsweek. All of those theories that at one point in time were banned were openly discussed by those 2 men that I had on my podcast that have been accused of dangerous misinformation. I do not know if they're right. I don't know, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. I'm just a person who sits down and talks to people and has conversations with them. Do I get things wrong? Absolutely, I get things wrong, but I try to correct them. Whenever I get something wrong, I try to correct it because I'm interested in telling the truth. I'm interested in finding out what the truth is. And I'm interested in having interesting conversations with people that have differing opinions.
So that's basically it. Now, what was so dangerous about any of that? You see, what people don't realize something is that when Neil Young came out and decided, I don't like this, whose name should be Neil Old, because he's old as hell, but Neil, all of you guys are doing is making the situation bigger. You're thinking you're helping the cause. You just helped make those 2 doctors that he interviewed, you made people want to go research and find out about them more. Had you just ignored the situation, it probably would have came and went and never been thought of again. Now people are going back to go listen to it. Thousands and thousands of more people. Because they want to hear what this controversy is about, what's actually going on. We're not saying anything about right and wrong. All we're saying is somebody just has a different opinion. Why can't they be heard? How is that dangerous for someone to have who's in that medical field and is credited professionals? It's dangerous because they don't agree with how you see it. Now it's dangerous. What has happened to this world? Now Spotify, I guess they supposed to just go around and fire old Joe Rogan. That's the key. That's the answer. Let's get rid of Joe because Neil Young and a bunch of other artists are getting up together saying we're going to leave Spotify if you keep Joe Rogan on. Why? Joe Rogan podcast was #1 with or without Spotify. He ain't #1 because he owns Spotify. If Neil Young can tell all his people that support his records, don't listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. If that's what he want to do, they can campaign for that all they want. But to try to make a company fire and cancel a podcast show because you didn't like 2 guests that were on the show and what 2 guests had to say, they should fire. All because you didn't like what 2 guests had to say. They need to fire the #1 podcast show and get rid of it. Because you don't want to hear what they have to say. Does that sound like freedom of speech? Does that sound like a dictatorship? I thought this was land of the free, home of the brave. Now the brave is anybody trying to be free. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this. I could have talked about the Lakers and stuff, do the usual, but I want to talk about this first. I never heard of Neil Young till now. Well, Clem, I didn't expect you to hear about Neil Young, but yeah, Neil Young is a popular person. I'm not a huge Joe Rogan supporter. Never been a real fan of Joe Rogan. I think he's a prick, but but I ain't saying he shouldn't be heard. I'm not saying he shouldn't have a podcast. I'm not saying he should be taken down. None of these things. I ever spoke to Joe Rogan. About 3, 4 times. It was back when he had hair, before the roids. Once he was taking roids, I don't think we spoke. I think maybe once. I'm sorry. Maybe you can enlighten the guy who just came in and said something stupid. What I used to do and still kind of do for a living. Well, let me enlighten you. Okay, I am a credentialed sports media guy. I get to cover boxing. I get to cover MMA. I get to cover as many different sports as we get allowed to cover or we get approved for. Mainly, we can get approved for a lot of fights. It's neither here nor there. Blessings be to you. Now, with that being said, seeing Joe Rogan at a fight during fight nights was common. Seeing him in the media area was common. Ran into him at the Mandalay Bay. Ran into him at LA, which used to be the Home Depot Arena. Ran into him at a lot of different places. It ain't like we sat down and really chatted it up and was like, hey, Joe Rogan. No. It was more of him being a prick than anything else. Plus, he knows that I don't like him. He can tell the vibe that this guy don't like me, so I'm not going to come over there. He took one look at it. He was talking to one guy. He looked over at me and tried to give me a smile, and I didn't smile back. So he knew, okay, this guy, whatever happens, that guy don't like me. And this was back when he had hair, Rogan. He had a little hair on his head then. That's when he was Fear Factor Rogan. Oh, no problem. Yes, we have 4 friends that has fought in UFC. Actually, Clay Guida lives probably 10 minutes away from me. So Clay Guida, his cousin, everybody. I used to work with his cousin. So Clay Guida would go over there and train. Cain Velasquez came up here and trained with him. Flow MMA, that's up here. We got tons of UFC fighters that came through there. Came through Flow MMA. Damian Maya from Flow MMA. So if you know these guys, then you know I know all of them. And have seen all of them work, train. All my friends went to Flow MMA out here in Crystal Lake. Started training. No, he's not really a cardio machine. That dude drinks before he goes to the ring, he drinks about 5, 6, 7 Red Bulls. So imagine drinking 7 energy drinks and then going in the ring to fight. Oh, the Diaz brothers? Oh man, running into them? Please, you can run into them anywhere. They don't have security. Nick and Nate never need security. They got homeboys that roll with them where they go. Nick just likes to smoke 24/7. But here's the thing. Nick Diaz's smoke buddy was Ronda Rousey. So when he was getting in trouble for weed, it was like, why Ronda isn't? That's my smoke buddy. Like we was both smoked out together. No, Nick, not Nate. Nate's an actual athlete. Like he can run a decathlon and everything. Like this dude is endless. Like he's natural athlete. Can do anything. Yeah, he's taking one too many shots to the head, but so is both of them. Adonijay is one of the. I mean, all everybody who's coming into the UFC, and they're coming into the UFC from Haitian and South Africa. Anybody, any one of them South Africa, they gonna come into this thing and wipe the floor with everybody. And that messes up Dana White's plan. Now all these South Africans got the belt. They got all the major titles, and you mad. You big mad. Because see, Dana wanted to be all white. That's what he want. Now, of course, the heavyweight champion of the world, allegedly his manager got some type of racist email or note from Dana White. What ruined the UFC? Bringing in WWE fighters to wrestle and UFC. That's what ruined the sport. When you try to create stars, instead of letting the stars dictate who they are and promote them, you tried to make stars. Was Dana White tried to make people stars? Brock Lesnar was the biggest mistake they've ever made. It got a lot of hits on pay-per-view for them putting Brock in there. But you just basically put Brock Lesnar on a UFC card and he was terrible. He was next to terrible when it came to actual UFC fighting. And I was like, when you put him in there with a real guy, he's going to get hurt. He's not used to taking punishment for real. What's going to happen when he gets cracked by somebody who actually do this? I made big money off of it, so I Brock Lesnar. I wish they bring him back so I can make some more money. Conor McGregor. I was the one to predict his first loss. I said Conor McGregor will lose his next fight, and he damn sure did. I told him there's no way he could beat Tony Ferguson, or Khabib. I said, if you Dana White, you never make that fight happen. Because if you do, it's over. Now he can't beat Poitier. He can't even beat Dustin. He can't beat none of these guys anymore because his confidence is gone. He has zero confidence in himself that he can win these fights. Zero. Once he got beat by Khabib, he knew it was all over. Now he's just trying to make a bunch of money, but he knows I can get beat. Before he snapped his leg, he was getting beat. He didn't beat Cowboy. Cowboy was already beat. Cowboy had lost like 6 in a row. Everybody just liked Cowboy. You know, he's a great guy, but he can't take a punch no more. Cowboy didn't even land a shot. That was a fight to try to build Conor back up. And it was giving Cowboy his payday. So nobody really cared, about the outcome. You just like, man, let Cowboy get a payday. Khabib is the man. I still think Tony Ferguson will give him a run for his money, even though Tony has been in, some wars and they've taken a toll on him. Right, it's like all those guys who beat Chuck Liddell in his later years, taking credit for beating Chuck Liddell. It's like you didn't beat Chuck Liddell. You beat what was left of Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell has been done since, that Rampage knockout. That was it. Yeah, Justin did mess Tony up pretty bad, but Justin was no match for Khabib. Mm-mm. I mean, who's there left for him to fight? Who can fight Khabib and beat him in UFC? Nobody. Yeah, because Justin can't do anything. If Khabib gets Justin on the ground, it's over. The fight is over, and he can't get out of that grip. And he just keeps working up you like a boa constrictor. I would have loved to have seen that Israel Adjana fight, but he has to stay in his weight class. If he goes outside of his weight class and keep moving up, he can't beat those guys. They're too big for him. So all your athleticism, your skill, your reflexes ain't gonna mean anything when you get hit with them by the big boys. I would love to see what Israel could do, but once he grabs him, it's over. Costa's alright. It's too soon. It's alright. You gotta get some more fights in. Lomachenko, another fighter who has to stay in his weight class. He couldn't, Teofimo, he's too big for Lomo. And I knew he was going to eventually have to move up because he's too big. And it's just outside of his weight class. He cannot, for his skill set and what he does. Lomo's great, and he's underrated as a body puncher when somebody who developed body punching late in their career. He's been exceptionally good at it. I love the way he attacks on certain angles. He uses his speed to get to spots, and he basically uses his Olympic amateur style. But this is how boxing was done. You get to spots, you turn people, you throw a lot of feints and movement to get people to get to certain locations. Then the way he's able to spring forward. But the thing is, he's getting hit a lot more now because he's dedicated to trying to land body shots. He's not really protecting himself from the incoming or getting countered. So he's taking a lot of leather coming in. Oh, absolutely. We'll see what happens with Joe Rogan. Spotify said they're standing with him because they don't see anything that he did that's a fireable offense. And I don't see anything that he did as a fireable offense. So, mm-hmm. Well, when people want to take you down, that's the avenue that they want to go towards. They want to go and lean towards. This is the way we should move. Like I think this is how it should work. People have their own agendas. So when people select their own agendas and they have their own basis as to what they believe is the end all be all of, like, my thought is the opinion of the world or the country, this is where you're leaning towards. This is what you're building, you know, is going to try to be. You're like controlling the minds of the public to be puppets. So you don't want people, you want puppets. And you want to just keep more people on a string to hang on to every word that you say and make that the end all be all of all what matters. Dictatorship. Everybody wanted to see Tank fight Josh Taylor. You can't be considered the champion if you don't beat the champion. That's just a fact of the matter. I think the fight goes the distance with Tyson Fury and Dylan White. I think Fury wins a unanimous decision. Oh, thank you. And thank you guys for hitting the like button. My super chat works. My cash app is still Carcino if you want to support the page. Absolutely. Oh man. Those were crazy times. Very crazy and different times. Charlo should win the rematch. Um, Cantano was somebody who got robbed twice. He beat Laura, he beat Charlo. The thing is that Charlo knows his style now. I think he's figured him out. Cantano doesn't do anything different, so I think he can catch him and hurt him. He probably stops Cantano in the rematch because now he knows what to expect. The first time he got caught off guard, so he made a comeback in the fight to basically solidify the draw. But I really don't think he got the draw. No, we're gonna try to push for something else altogether, but you gonna lose again? Oh, it might be, but I see him actually winning the fight. Based on him fighting him the first time around, and now he's learned, like, okay, I figured this out. I know how to move now when it comes to this. So, oh, thank you very much. Who's that? Oh, that's X Man. What's up, X? I see you. Absolutely, but I need to get out of here because I got to start getting some stuff done. So I'm gonna holler at y'all later on. Love, peace, and hair grease.